On the meeting to order. Ms. Surkey is attending tonight's meeting via teleconference. A recording and or broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board, which may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Calling the roll. Steve.
Here.
Brian.
Present.
Vladimir.
Here.
Shelley. She's just getting on. Sorry.
Why call the roll?
Shelley, I have just called the roll. Can you tell me that you're here? Sorry, she's just logging on right now. Host has to enable video and audio. All right, back again, Shelley.
Okay,
All
can
right.
you all hear me now? Okay, perfect, thank you.
And,
Oh, and I'm here.
awesome, and I am here. All five of us are here. Can we get some students to help us lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Awesome, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any board members want to comment on the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in, calling a roll vote. Steve.
Yes.
Brian.
Yeah.
Vladimir.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes,
And I vote yes. Agenda passes 5-0. Moving on to closed session report. There is nothing to approve from closed session. Superintendent's update.
All right, I did want to give you all an update around what's happening in our schools and outside of our schools. So after the horrific massacre of Israeli citizens by Hamas and continued violence in Israel and Gaza, I met with our leadership team to discuss our communication as a district and our action plan to support families and students. We made two important decisions that day and continue to follow this. One is that I would be the main communicator for the district to have a central message of support to our families. And two, the work of our principals, our teachers, our school psychologists and mental health professionals is to really check on our students to make sure that we are maintaining safe and supportive school communities and learning environments, and that we are providing a safe space and the staff necessary for anyone who wants to talk. And our school staff certainly have their ears to the ground. They're connecting with students. We have shared a variety of resources with our families and even more resources with our school principals and our school psychologists to use and to share as needed. I want you to know that our teachers are trained in supporting students experiencing trauma. We have the staff available at all of our sites to support students in crisis. We understand this is an ongoing crisis. We encourage our families to closely watch social media that their children might be consuming, both for false information or misleading information and for horrific graphic images. And social media is really a concern right now for students. And I'm mindful that we have students in the audience today, but want to assure you that we continue to pay close attention to the well-being of our students and our staff. And we know that so many of our families have been impacted and are impacted, and we want them to know that we're here for them. That is my update for tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to school presentation, we have Santa Rita School.
We are thrilled to welcome.
So I will start by introducing our one and only Miss Kaylee Sally. So come on up. Presentation.
I'm sure you're all wondering how to get a groovy pair of these heart shades, and have no fear, I've got your gear. So, board and admin, here is some Santa Rita love for you to show your cool at any school. But wait, I wouldn't just want to adorn you with a pair, I've got more to share. So they're gonna go around, so we get everybody one. Oh, you look great. The goal of Heart Shades is not just to feel like we belong, but that we unite with inclusion, connecting to our rightful presence to be right where we are in this community. Let me explain a little more so you can see. Is our educational system accessible, equitable, inclusive, and reflective of all students and families? I'm sure at least some of you have seen the next few slides. So as they are shown, let's think about what those pictures mean to you. We've got our reality and equality statuses. Reality shows that the disparity, while equality demonstrates that everyone just needs the same support. The next sequence slide showcases that equity is when everyone gets the support they need. But let's take a deeper look at the liberation picture. In this display, the system barrier and the inequity has been addressed, and the three can see without supports. Now, this last drawing shows that inclusion is the opportunity for everyone not only to be a part of the game, but to participate by being an active player with a meaningful role. A rightful presence liberates the lives of youth to show that all of us are visible in creating the fabric of school communities. Inclusion is the equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized. Belonging is knowing you are in the right place, feeling you're in this space where you can be yourself, thrive, and feel good. As you can see, we want more than just inclusion in Los Altos. We want students and families to see their rightful presence in the environment they are in, and more than anything, we want them to feel they belong. Here are some of the ways in which we do this at Santa Rita. And when the going gets tough, and believe me, as a TSDC teacher, some days are rough, just grab your heart shades and remember to be kind, be well, be strong, because you belong. All of us here are a group of people invested in educating our students with the finest teachers around. At Santa Rita, we also value our families that make up our school of Bobcats. We believe in the phrase, once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. So I'd like to introduce Herb Marshall, a parent who is also our PTA Vice President. Herb helps our collective families understand the importance of their presence in the school community, along with our students and teachers.
Is there a microphone or just pick
You
it
talk
up?
to these owls.
Oh, the owls, all right. It's an update since last time I've been here.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm Herb Marshall, I'm the parent of a third grader. I'm the current VP of the PTA. It's nice to see you all again. It's been a while since I've been up here speaking with you guys. Santa Rita has one of the most diverse student bodies in the district, which is a huge asset to our school, but also presents challenges around forming a community. On the parent level, our focus this year at the PTA has been around building a parent community and celebrating our cultures and our community. We started off this year with an informal backyard parent meeting, which included childcare. We invited involved parents from each grade level to provide the PTA leadership guidance and input on what they'd like to see as a community, and we had more than 40 parents attend. The common theme was a feeling of building a community beyond our grade level and across our grade levels. We found a lot of people knew, the parents of, the third graders, but not necessarily the fifth graders, and how can we kind of break some of those barriers? And removing some of the traditional hurdles, whether it's financial, childcare, lack of feeling included. From that, our theme has been small community parties with low cost tickets and that are provide childcare. We've already had Moms and Margs, Cocktails and Curry, Oktoberfest, with many more parties on the books. Most have a childcare option and span from dad's beer night to a Diwali party and everything in between. Our PTA meetings have been moved to the evenings. We also include childcare, and we believe by creating opportunities that might be appealing to everyone and removing some of these barriers, we can create a parent community that feels included to all of our events and in our school community. On a personal note, I want to talk briefly about how Santa Rita has created an environment for students who traditionally might feel separated or excluded from other kids. I have 3 kids, 2 at Egan, 1 at Santa Rita, all went to Santa Rita. One of my kids has been on an IEP since she was 3, so before we were even in the district, we were in the district. In 2nd grade, my wife and I began noticing that there was more than speech going on. And hats off to the Santa Rita staff who brought it up at the IEP assessment before we could. Katrina, who's here, is going to speak to you next, was our 2nd grade teacher. And I can't thank her and the staff for intervening really at that right time. I felt so fortunate to be part of a district that was so in tune with my child's needs, educational needs. Fast forward 4 years, and never in my wildest dreams did I envision she be speaking at 6th grade graduation. As part of her speech, she specifically called out Ms. Fiona Graham. Happens to be here, please give her a raise. For being there and quote, being so kind and welcoming. My child was not afraid of acknowledging to the entire school that learning was not easy for her and she needed extra help, and that was okay. I've been told this the first time RSP was acknowledged in a Santa Rita graduation speech. And if this is not an example of how Santa Rita has created a culture of normalization and inclusion of what tends to be an excluded, sometimes dejected population, I'm not sure what is. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes deliberate decisions and a culture of inclusion to cultivate and grow self-esteem and confidence in our children. To feel included, you have to feel supported and comfortable being yourself. The teachers and staff, several of them here tonight, have been working hard for years to make sure every child feels included in the Santa Rita community, regardless of the hurdles they face, academic or other. It's part of the reason why I try and stay involved and realize how great Santa Rita really is. Thank you.
First, I want to say hi to you, because you're going to be thinking of this. Hi, board. It's so wonderful to be here. So good evening. My name is Katrina Waters, and I am a literacy intervention specialist at Santa Rita. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about co-teaching. And then I'm going to have a couple of students tell you about their experience having 2 teachers. So my current co-teaching partner is on the screen here. Her name is Carrie Middleton. And she's a 3rd grade teacher, and she really wishes that she could be here tonight with me, but she's currently taking an Orton Gillingham class that runs for 3 hours every Monday for the next 10 weeks. So yay, PD. And I also have worked with Natalie Cannon, who is right here. And so I'm going to be referencing her as well. So in the winter of the 2021 and 22 school year, I worked with Greg Drummond to design an experimental intervention pullout program for 6th grade long-term English language learners, which included a heavy emphasis on writing and speaking. I presented information about it at DLAC in May of 2022, which Jessica was a part of. And it was a successful program. There was strong evidence that students were growing through that time, but their feedback was that even though they knew it was helpful and they appreciated that, they didn't like getting pulled out of class. So that planted a seed in my mind, how I could bring together writing and speaking support in a more inclusive and less stigmatizing way. We were looking for an environment that was conducive to learning through rightful presence. I then worked with Molly Kesselring, who was our 2022 LASD Teacher of the Year. And she is an incredible co-teaching coach and inclusion advocate. I also talked to Natalie, who's a 6th grade teacher, and she was very interested in the idea of co-teaching, which could help with more inclusion in the classroom. So this is a full year commitment for me as an interventionist to work side by side with a classroom teacher and all the students in the classroom, which is a bit of a departure from how intervention is traditionally structured. Co-teaching does involve parallel teaching, which means that sometimes we split the class in half and we teach them each the same information, but just in a smaller group in a separated space. But that is not a pull-out intervention. The separate setting just helps me focus. And I'm telling you this because that's one of the things I like about it. So you're gonna hear them talk about that later. But to give an hour every day to the same class speaks volumes about the importance of this work and the commitment from both myself, the interventionist, and the classroom teacher. Working in sixth grade was successful in many ways, but it also made me want to see if I can make a bigger impact by jumping in the river a little further upstream and building foundational writing skills at a younger age. So fortunately, Carrie Middleton was just as excited to try out co-teaching as Natalie had been, and we have already been blown away by the growth that we have seen in our students in both their personal narrative and persuasive writing pieces. Both Natalie and Carrie let me come in with the eyes of an interventionist and try new ways of teaching the content. And they embraced my ideas and we worked together to integrate them into their lessons. There are many research studies spanning decades espousing the positive benefits of co-teaching. There are too many data points for me to share tonight, but I did link them on the slide, especially for anybody watching online who's curious to know more. And I have paper copies if anybody wants to take home another souvenir aside from the heart shades. It's a big night for souvenirs, you guys. So let me know if you would like a copy of that. But Molly put this together and overwhelmingly the data points to positive social and academic outcomes for all students. I cannot emphasize that enough. All means all. And it is easier to manage behavior and give individual attention to students. And the data also points to benefits for teachers, professional growth, collaboration opportunities, and stronger relationships between staff members. So I absolutely love being a co-teacher, and I'm grateful that I get to work in a setting where we are constantly striving to move towards inclusion by flipping traditional instruction models in favor of what is best for our students. And now I would really like for you to hear straight from the reasons that we do this work. So I'm going to introduce Liam and Karina to you. You don't have to stand in front of me.
I like co-teaching because it's easier to get questions answered and I can learn different things from each teacher. It's more fun to have two teachers. I also think it's easier to focus because the groups are smaller and I like being able to go to another classroom. I like co-teaching because I can learn new things from two special teachers. I like going to Mrs. Waters' classroom because we learn different things at separate times. It feels better to work in tiny groups because we can all focus and pay attention.
Now I'll introduce our sixth grade leadership team. So these are just two of our boys from sixth grade that are going to tell you about all of these things.
Hi, I'm Siva. I'm Maddie. We are sixers at Santa Rita, and we are here to talk about sixth grade leadership team. All of the sixth graders are part of a leadership team, so that every single one of us is part of a group that contributes to the school. Some of the teams are spirit team, recycling team, DJ club, media team, culture wave team, and many more. Each sixth grader had to fill out a form to say why they thought they would be good for a specific team. We can even be on more than one team if we want.
That's when Steve and I decided we wanted to start a soccer club during lunch. We wanted to share the sport with all the students in our school. We thought we could help teach students who don't always participate in sports or have something to do at lunch. We wanted everyone to feel included.
We are working with first and fourth graders right now because we felt we could make the most impact on these grades. On Thursdays, we teach skills, techniques, and fitness. Then on Fridays, there are scrimmages to help them work on what they have learned. We already have about 50 kids signed up.
Our hope is that by the end of the year, a lot of kids are immersed in the sport and are having fun. They may even want to be a leader at Santa Rita in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finish. So hello, I'm Kelly Raffy. I'm principal at Santa Rita, and thank you again for having Santa Rita here tonight. So as you've heard and you've seen, Santa Rita is really working towards becoming a place that fully embraces rightful presence and collective identity. We believe that we're strengthened by the ability to build solidarity between all of our social groups. It's a work in progress, but our ever-changing staff, parents, and student body are committed to this partnership and endeavor. I want to thank our district office for supporting us because the wheel has given us a wonderful starting point and common language that we use not only with our kids, but with our parent community also. So these student lunch clubs, these were created by teachers. So our Bobcats on the Run and Striders, you'll see some of our teachers there. They started that club. Compassion Philanthropy is part of by parents, board games by teachers, knitting club by teachers. They pretty much found a place where every single student in our community feels a sense of belonging. So I want to end with an email that I received not too long ago from a parent that's new to our school. They're talking about one class and one teacher, but it's safe to say that over the last few years, I've gotten so many emails like this regarding teachers and experiences at Santa Rita that it makes me really proud, and it should make you proud too, to be part of this community. And the email goes like this. We wanted to write to express our gratitude to you and to Miss Phoebe Chen for the opportunity our son has to learn and grow in her class. We sincerely appreciate her outstanding work and dedication. From the very beginning of this academic year, we have been constantly impressed by Ms. Chen's attentiveness, patience, and commitment to nurturing a positive learning environment. It's clear to us that she is exceptionally qualified and dedicated to providing a high-quality education while ensuring each student's unique needs and abilities are recognized and supported. Ms. Chen's demonstrated exceptional skill in tailoring lessons to meet his individual learning style. She's also been a tremendous partner with us, Chuck, Anna, and our behaviorists in steering him towards more appropriate social behaviors through positive discipline. Thank you for having such a dedicated and caring educator at our school. Our family appreciates this outstanding introduction to what it means to be Bobcat strong. And that says it all. So thank you so much for letting us be here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All were amazing, and I assume you may have some homework to do.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm kicking them all out.
Yeah. And Marcy, is there a way that we could have their presentation added to the agenda afterwards? That's a way, good way for the community to see it later.
So we'll post
the dates for it. So oh, that's just. Online for the families. I can share the things between them. Are you on double duty?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Moving on to consent calendar. Any board members like to provide comment on the consent calendar?
I would like to provide.
All right,
Just on one item, nothing to change, just a comment.
yeah,
Board
4E.
policy AR 6162.8 research. This is new, as far as I can tell, right? It says, it's never been adopted before, but, it seems a little bit restricted. I just, I wish it weren't quite restricted. There's a restriction in there that, not restriction, but it has to benefit the school. And I can sort of see some situations where there may not be a direct benefit to the school. The other thing is that I believe all schools, all universities have something called IRB, Institutional Review Board, that examines every research opportunity to make sure that it's been carefully designed to provide privacy, and so you might want to include, give us a copy of that. That's all. In some future update, couple years.
all right.
That's
Any other comments on the consent calendar? Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, Steve,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Vladimir,
Yes.
Shally,
Yes.
and I vote yes, passes 5-0. Moving on to employee requests to address the board, we have Kelly Sawyers.
Well,
It's been so
hello again.
I'm back.
All right, good evening, board et al. I'm Kaylee Salyers, Vice President of Los Altos Teachers Association. As the weather turns and our seasons turn, LATA has been behind the scenes planning events for our members and shining smiles in schools district-wide, some of us with heart shades. Soon, our first trimester will be ending and teachers will be busy scheduling parent-teacher conferences, whilst also working diligently on report cards. And of course, no one here is on the countdown to our upcoming holiday breaks, but if anyone has tips on how to get through our spooky season, full moon, Friday the 13th, and a solar eclipse, please send your tips to all teachers at lata.werepyou@gmail.com. Any tips that you have. We continue to be hopeful for the Measure A vote to pass. Our members are also active in communicating with the community how important this funding is for teachers and education during this voting timeframe in Los Altos. You can read more about this on the Keep Los Altos Schools Strong class website. And like I said at the last board meeting, you stay classy, Los Altos.
Thank you. I knew you were gonna do that. I appreciate it. All right, to provide public comment on an agenda item. It says that she's not speaking, so I didn't include. It says it on the agenda, so I didn't even. offer to bring it up. I know. Okay. All right. Provide public comment on an agenda item. Speaker cards are to be submitted to the superintendent. Speaker cards will not be accepted once public comment begins. Your name will be announced when it is your turn to speak. We're moving on to community comments. This time is reserved for members of the public and employees to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board is not permitted to discuss or take actions on non-agenda items except to instruct the superintendent to review the matter further, report back to the board at a subsequent meeting, or to place the matter on a future agenda. The board may make a brief comment or ask clarifying questions. We do have a couple of speakers. I need to actually count them. Wait for 1 second for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 2 minutes. First speaker we have is Erin Tamari. Second is Nellie Brooke. Third is Amnon Levy. Well, if you could line up at the whatever. Podium, thank you. So Aaron, Nellie, and Amnon.
Sorry, there are 3 minutes to speak, right?
It does say 3, or it can be 2. It is based on how many speakers. We have the ability to bring it down to 2. I can bring it up to 3 if that is what you like. It is just
Okay, I'm ready for 3 minutes. Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to do any, it was just more making sure that we can get to our business tonight. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Ron. I'm a parent of a couple of students at Eaton Junior High. My family and I, along with many of the Israeli and Jewish members of this community, are going through one of the most difficult times in our lives. We have hardly slept since the horrific events of October 7th. When we do eventually fall asleep, we do so with tears and then wake up realizing that we are living in a perpetual, never-ending nightmare. We received a letter from the superintendent about the situation in Israel. However, what has been unleashed against Israeli citizens is pure evil, which is much more than just a terror attack resulting in a declaration of war. This time is different. October 7 is our 9/11. To quote President Biden's speech from a week ago, and I start quoting, "This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel. Among them, at least 14 American citizens killed. Parents butchered, using their bodies to try to protect their children. Stomach-turning reports of babies being killed. Entire families slain. Young people massacred while attending a musical festival to celebrate peace. Women raped, assaulted, paraded as trophies. Families hid their fear for hours and hours, desperately trying to keep their children quiet to avoid drawing attention. I finish the quote now. Dear board members, in time like this, there is no place for anything but a firm stand on this matter. Nothing short of a very clear message pronouncing the barbaric acts of Hamas should be communicated. There can be no buts, no excuses, no coming up with reasons for these atrocities, no explanation of why it was inevitable. These terrorists murdered and tortured civilians deliberately in the worst possible ways, no different than ISIS. As war unfolds in the region, many people will be facing more tragedy in the days and weeks to come. And we need to stand together as a community and condemn the unspeakable terror of Hamas. This is not a time to be silent. It is not a time to be a bystander. We're already hearing of demonstrations happening here in San Jose just this past weekend, where Israel is being blamed for what has happened. The more silent you are, the louder their voices will be heard. We live in a world where silence is interpreted as a nod of approval. To quote President Biden again, there is no place for hate in America, not against Jews, not against Muslims, not against anybody. What we reject is terrorism. We condemn the indiscriminate evil, just as we've always done. That's what America stands for. We respectfully ask this board to unequivocally condemn these atrocities for what they are.
Thank you. Nellie Brooke. We do not, in the board meeting, we did clap for the students. We do try to actually do business, so try not to do the clapping. You can do this to show your agreement, but we want to allow the next speaker to speak. Thank you so much. Hi there, Nellie.
Good evening. My name is Nellie Brooke. My daughter is a student at Black. My son is at Oak. My family, my parents, my sister, my nephews and nieces live in a small kibbutz in the south of Israel. Friday night our time, Saturday morning in Israel, was one of the most horrifying nights of my life. 15 minutes drive is the distance between where my family lives and where thousands of terrorists from Hamas enter family houses. It's like telling you that there are terrorists right now in Los Altos Hills. These terrorists shot a 3-month-old baby in her head in front of her mom, who they kidnapped to Gaza. They brutally raped Shani, 20-year-old girl, then proudly paraded her naked in the streets of Gaza. They tied the hands and legs of an entire family, mom, dad, and their 4 kids, and burned them alive. And they posted all this horror for the entire world to see. There are still about 300 burned bodies that cannot be identified, not even with a DNA test. This is terror, and it should be condemned. When I hear the words of President Biden and our governor, I'm proud to be part of this country. Many school districts in the area condemn this evil act, but not our school leaders. I reach out to the school district, the superintendent, the principal. However, I have been met with a total silence. Superintendent, Ms. McNeil, in your statement to the community, you said that the school district is obligated to combat rising anti-Semitism, The school district is currently sending the exact opposite message. Israel and Jewish students are not safe in schools where their educators consider acts of terror either acceptable or not worthy of condemnation. Today, I woke up in the morning, sent my kids to school with a heavy feeling that they are not safe. If the leaders of their education cannot admit that this horrific attack against Israelis is terrorism, why would they protect our kids? You can change that and make our kids feel seen and safe. Let us all know that you are here to teach our kids what is right and what is wrong. Terror is terror. It's pure evil. And as President Biden said, it's never justified. I'm asking you to pass this message clearly to our community, to the school staff, and to our students. We are all affected by this horror. We lost friends. We fear for our families, and it's hurting to know that our school community cannot see it, ignore it, and don't even take the time to reply to our appeals. It makes me think, do I belong? Is that the kind of education I want my kids to have?
Thank you very much. Amnon Levy?
Yes, okay, come to you with prepare for this video. Now, I'm going to show a video if that's okay.
We don't, or you ask, should be a
No,
speech. We
I
can't
have
do
a
it.
statement.
Sorry.
So the video that I wanted to, by the way, I'm Levy. I have two boys, one in Oak, the second one in Block. The older one has been through Block through all the years. I'm gonna read the statement that Governor Newsom provided over video. And I think it talks and it touched exactly the message that we're trying to convey here today. And the message we are looking forward for the district to kind of push down to the network. This is not a moment of equivocation or false equivalency. This is not a time to draw a line between good and evil. This is a time for moral clarity. There is a right and there is a wrong. What Hamas did was a mass murder. Children being killed in front of their parents. Parents in front of their children, rape, burning bodies, kidnapping of innocent kids, crimes against humanity. Hamas terrorists did not just attack Israel, they attacked Jews everywhere. So let's be clear, that's what Governor Newsom said. These acts were pure evil, and as we all know too well, evil can only prevail if good people sit idle by and do nothing. Gonna end with Martin Luther King Jr. quote. In the end, we'll remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Levitch, then Tanya Perkerman, and then Joe Commentary.
Hi folks, I'm Alex Levitch. I'm a parent of two kids in Oak Elementary, and I want my kids to feel safe and seen, both today and for years to come. And that can only take place if our education system strongly condemns the evil in this world, teaching kids to understand what's right and what's wrong. And this is what I'm here to talk about today. What took place in Israel on October 7th is pure genocide of Jewish people at a scale not seen since the Holocaust. The current message released by the district is focused on the tragedy and pain of both sides of the conflict. While we all feel what's happening is tragic, this is completely separate from clearly identifying and denouncing terror and genocide. The Holocaust also took place during a war between Germany and many other countries, and it was tragic for people on both sides. Yet, if instead of condemning a horrendous systemic massacre of 6 million people, we will say we understand both sides, we legitimize the events and the people performing the massacre. It is exactly the same in this particular case. That means not condemning it means we are teaching our children that it is justified to massacre people based on race or religion, as long as you were suffering as well. Totally cool. Is this the message we want to teach our kids? Is this the world you want to live in? You want them to live in? The messages we deliver to them today defines the world they will create. I can tell you that for myself, I'm scared to live in a world that seemingly puts justice, equity, diversity, inclusion at the forefront, but allows massacres to happen based on race and religion. It is not a world in which me and my kids can feel safe, simply because we're Jewish. That apparently is enough. I have 3 asks for this board. Number 1, live by the words we preach. Teach our kids what's right and what's wrong by example. I ask that the board releases a public statement to the whole community, sharing its strong and unequivocal condemn for Hamas's actions and the massacre that took place in Israel. Many districts have already done so and are leading the way, and I'm disappointed to see that ours haven't. Palo Alto, Sunnyvale, Saratoga, San Mateo, Santa Clara, and more will join. Without such public statement, we are allowing the community to form a variety of opinions about what took place, and often look at Israel as one to blame for the massacre. This is the same as saying that Jewish people are to blame for the Holocaust. They deserve it. Number two, I ask that the educators, which all are filled with good intentions, refrain from sharing any content with the students that have not been thoroughly reviewed and approved by the Israeli community. We are seeing a ton of misinformation out there, including on major outlets like CNN, and that is creating anti-Semitic opinions and actions, which endanger our kids, our family, and the community as a whole. Number three, I'm concerned about the security of the Israeli and Jewish community during this time. Hamas has put out calls for violence against Jewish people around the world, and there are numerous protests going on, driving anti-Semitic messages. Just this past weekend, there was a big demonstration in San Francisco, with the results of many businesses having graffiti along Market Street, a major street in San Francisco, calling for the death of Israel. In Santana Row, 20 minutes from here, there was a demonstration again against Israel. Folks from the Israeli community were driving by with Israeli flags and they were attacked. We are just lucky no one got hurt. I urge the board to increase the school security measures and make sure our students feel safe, are safe, and the Israeli and Jewish parents do not need to worry about sending their kids to school. I want to end on a personal note and share a story with you all. I was born and spent my childhood in the Soviet Union. Anti-Semitism was pretty much what I lived through, day in, day out. My parents couldn't choose where they went to school, where they worked. There were only a few institutions accepting Jews. I was not allowed to share that I'm Jewish. It had to be kept a secret because it was dangerous to be Jewish. It could have led to verbal or physical attack or even death. Exactly the things we're observing today. Moreover, my childhood was spent worrying about pogroms, attacks on Jews, that various official and non-official bodies would threaten about. I know what it's like to not go to school because someone threatened to kill Jews this week. I know what it's like to hide your identity simply because you're Jewish. I moved to Israel and then to the US thinking these are places where I can be safe, where I no longer need to be afraid about who I am and what is my race and my religion. But it turns out this is not the case. Jews continue to be persecuted simply because they're Jews. It is your obligation as educators to teach our kids to do better. If you stay silent, you endorse anti-Semitism and are effectively enabling it all to happen again. The future of anti-Semitism lies in your hands, in the hands of educators who must teach our kids what's right and what's wrong. And it is especially important and critical during challenging and controversial times. Thank you.
Thank you. Going forward, I will be cutting you off at 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Tanya Barkerman.
Thank you. I have 2 children and Black. I'm going to talk today about the horrific terror attack that happened this past weekend. I will also talk about the LASD position and the education we are providing to our children. LASD issued a note to community on this topic last week. The letter also erroneously stated that Israel declared war on Gaza. I'm here to correct that mistake and state that in fact it was Hamas that declared war on Gaza. Israel is a sovereign democratic country that has the responsibility to protect their civilians. You might not hear that in major news, but in addition to the attack, in the past 10 days, Hamas also fired 6,000 rockets on innocent civilians in their country, including today. At the time of this meeting, Israelis are hiding in bomb shelters and schools are being taught on Zoom. You might also not hear in the major news that Hamas is preventing their own civilians from leaving the areas of fighting. You might ask why? Because killing Palestinian civilians serves Hamas' political agenda. My speech is about humanity, but I would like to provide some geopolitical facts. This conflict is not about the land. Gaza owns all of their land. Hamas was elected by people of Gaza and came to power at the time when Gaza owned all of their land. Hamas is a terroristic organization with their charter specifying their purpose is number 1, annihilation of State of Israel and attacks on all Jews, and number 2, attacks on the United States of America. I will not cite President Biden, he was already cited here. And if you think this is some kind of regional conflict that's happening far away from here, you are mistaken. This past Friday, Hamas declared Day of Rage per their Twitter page, asking all Muslims around the globe for pogroms and taking action against Jews everywhere. Last Friday, Jewish schools in the United States of America were closed. Our universities had heavy securities. Our children attending UC universities had to call police to escort them from their rooms to dinner and back. My own family engaged with this board 2 years ago on the case of anti-Semitism in our elementary schools. Our school district in the past took clear stand with BLM and then with Ukraine. Yet today, there was no denouncing of this terror attack by LASD. This conduct makes me an American citizen to feel that Jewish life, including my own, are worth less than the life of other American citizens. I told my husband this past week that the first time in my whole life I understood how Holocaust would have happened. It happened just like that, by turning away, by not taking sides, by being nice and not speaking the uncomfortable truth. After all, those are Jewish lives. I'm asking LASD not to fail our children education and provide a clear stand against terror. By not taking a side in this case means justifying terror. Because the most important part of children education is to teach them to recognize the evil and be able to stand for what is right. I'm asking you to provide our Jewish students unwavering support and security just to provide to the rest of the students. Our children don't need psychologists. They need to know that you are standing by their side, the educators. I'm also asking you to issue a new letter denouncing terror and sharing it with the community.
Thank you. Joe Commendatore.
Hey, how are you? I'm Joe Commendatore. I'm a Christian and I'm not a Jew, but I'm here to support my friends and this guy's my family over here. So, you know, the other day I've been in this community. I was born and raised here. Went to Oak Block, Mountain View High School, and I have kids in Oak and Block. And I help out with the football program here, so I'm with our kids all the time. And the other day I was at a football game and one of the Jewish kids on our team had an emotional outburst with one of our teammates, and they almost came to blows and they swore at each other, and it was about this topic. And it made me feel like I needed to speak up. So I went and did a post on social media and basically condemned it and denounced it. And not for myself, but I wanted him to know and I wanted everybody else to know that we agree with them, because I think everybody wants to be heard and everyone wants to feel that they're safe and that they're included. And we always say to speak up against the bully, and here politics is playing a big role. So we're like, I don't want to offend the Palestinians. I don't want to, offend the Jews, but like wrong is wrong, right is right. And we all got to be courageous enough to step up and right in front of everybody and say, hey, what happened is wrong, and tell our kids it's wrong. And then stand with them, let them know that they're part of the community and that we won't let people bully each other. Because whether it's murder or it's somebody bullying each other at school, it's wrong. And if we don't teach them that, it's going to escalate on all levels. So when we started this, we started with the Pledge of Allegiance, liberty and justice for all. And so my thought is that if you guys believe in the Pledge of Allegiance of America and you believe in Los Altos community, then you need to stand behind them and rally. Let them know that they're heard and let everybody know that they're protected and heard and that we won't stand for it. And so if that's sending out a statement and saying, hey, we don't agree with this, it's wrong on all accords, or it's telling kids within the classrooms like, hey, we're with you guys, we see you, we hear you, we love you, this is wrong, and letting them know that, the person that lost their aunt or their sister or their brother or has a, cousin or nephew in war right now, that we're with them and we stand with them. That's a big deal. And so I think we've all been alone and we've all wanted someone to stand with us. And as scary as it is to offend someone, it's even scarier to mislead the kids and see what they're going to do in the future if we don't stop it now. So I just ask that you guys be courageous enough to speak up for them and let them know that you're heard.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Zadie Rosenberg.
Yes.
Everyone, I'm going to keep it short because everybody spoke about the topic. My name is Zadie Rosenberg. I have two daughters at Loyola and one at Block. I'm here to speak about the brutal murders of over 1,300 Israelis in Asa district to condemn them as President Biden did and Governor Newsom did in their speeches. When we received the letter, there was no such approach. Rather than focus on the issue in a way there was an attempt to stay sympathetic to both sides, where one side suffered a brutal, purposeful attack a couple of days before. In letters both my wife and I received from our employers, there was an alignment with the message from the Biden administration regarding the Israeli and Jewish community in this time. Although your email was meant to be supportive, it undermined the severity of the event. Yes, we have a diverse population here in Los Altos, This was purely directed as an act of hate and a massacre to one group of people. And as President Biden said, this attack has brought to the surface of painful memories and the scars left by a millennia of anti-Semitism and genocide of the Jewish people. We're currently facing so much pain hearing more and more about the atrocities coming out of this tragic event, and we need full support from our community. We need to know and understand that the Los Altos School District plus the Los Altos community is standing behind us in this really tough time, and I've yet to see a message come out from in such element. And we asked the district again to condemn this attack in its fullest and ask for your support, your protection, and really let our kids feel that their voice matters at school and that their safety is really important. And I appreciate the time for letting me speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any comments?
I just want to say thank you to you all for coming. I think we all feel deeply that so many of our families are experiencing ongoing trauma as a result of this murderous terror attack by Hamas. I appreciated Superintendent McGonagall's update. I trust that, you know, part of the message that we're giving to our kids is that bullying, harassment, and abuse has no place on our campuses. And I'm hoping that you'll, you know, continue to, and our principals will continue to work with our families to give them the support that they feel they need. Because it's going to be weeks and months of horror, and we all feel that. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. We all do denounce what happened. I think it's important to you guys to note that we have Brian Johnson here. He is Jewish. My family is Jewish. I read the communication before it went out. While I feel bad that it doesn't have the unequivocal nature that you wanted from us, it was denouncing it as a terror attack. It just didn't have as strong as words as you're asking for. And I apologize for that. As you have intimated, we do have a mixed community. And we find that terrorist attacks are bad, that killing innocent civilians are bad. And so we 100% agree with that. And so I just wanted to make sure you definitely understood that we all agreed with you. And I am sorry that the communication did not make you feel that way, but we do. And we are focusing on the ground at our schools for your students to make sure it's not a back and forth. It is not a back and forth. You can email me after this. I am jspizer@lasdschools.org. And I'm willing to meet with you. I'm willing to have an email conversation with you, whatever works. But I just want you to know that we do care. And I'm sorry that it didn't come across that way, but we do. Every last one of us at this table cares. And we are in an impossible situation. We are not the commander-in-chief of this country, nor the leader of the 5th largest economy in the world. And so we're not perfect, and I'm sorry about that. We are learning from that process. Thank you very much. And we're moving on to the next part of our agenda. Action discussion items, the student experience survey and DIBELS data. So I'm going to go up front.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
So Mr. Drummond unfortunately is not feeling great today, so I am pinch hitting on the presentation tonight. But I do have his notes, which is very helpful for me. All right, so tonight we are here to talk about our student experience survey, which is a new survey we gave to students very recently, but I'm going to start by giving you an update on DIBELS. So I knew you would ask me to remind you, what does DIBEL stand for? The Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. We give DIBELs 3 times a year to our K-3 students. For 2 reasons. One, it is an approved screener for us to identify early on reading difficulties, including dyslexia, but more than dyslexia. And 2, to help us guide instruction in the classroom and early intervention, which you know both of those things have been happening. Red, of course, is students who are at risk and need intensive support. Yellow is that students are at some risk and they need some strategic support that can typically happen within the classroom setting. Green and blue means minimal or negligible risk for reading difficulties, nothing else needed besides typical instruction and learning how to read. So here you can see our DIBELS assessment data across last year. I don't know that you want to point out anything specifically, but you can see those beginning, middle, and end. Ideally, we want to see a reduction in the yellow and the red, which we see for the most part across. But I think the most interesting, no, I'll get to that most interesting. This is this year's fall data. We have a great DIBELS team, Trish Cardelar, and many of our literacy aides at the elementary schools are part of our DIBELS team, so they go out to all 7 elementary schools. So you can see how our K 1, 2, 3 data looks for this fall. Really, most of our upper grade students have retained their strong part. I'm gonna move ahead because I don't like the organization of this, but this is my favorite slide. I didn't make this. This is my favorite slide. You all often ask about cohorts. It's hard to perfectly cohort students because they're coming and going. But I love the look of this one. If you look at the kinders from fall of 2021, all the way across to where they are currently as 2nd graders, you can really see that number as the load and demand increases each year as they're getting older, that the content or the challenge of reading is more difficult, the content is more difficult. You can see that those yellow and red numbers are declining overall, which is really terrific. What else do I want to say about DIBELS? We have some next steps. We know it's important that our tier 1, that regular classroom reading is of the highest quality, that we're teaching kids systematic, explicit, direct instruction around phonics and phonemic awareness and all of those pieces. And that we are intervening early when we see red flags, literally red flags, that we are intervening early, and we have great systems in place to be able to do that. We are, all of our primary classroom teachers have been trained in Orton-Gillingham, which is kind of the gold standard of phonics and phonemic awareness instruction. And all of our teachers have been taught a 3-part lesson strategy that they're using in conjunction with our new reading units of study and our phonics curriculum. And at both Almond and Santa Rita, where we typically see higher levels of yellow and red in early reading, those teachers are actually getting a much more, or have gotten, depending on which grade you are at, a more intensive Orton-Gillingham. I think Katrina alluded to Carrie Middleton having it 3 hours a day for a week for 10 weeks, a more intensive training around Orton-Gillingham, because we want to make sure that what's happening in tier 1 with our students with the greatest need, that they're really getting the super level of phonics. So that's something that's happening. We're looking closely to see if that changes anything in our data. And if we need to spread that across schools, but we're starting at those two schools in particular. When Greg comes back again in December, we're going to talk about CASP data. I actually believe it might be released publicly on Wednesday. The dates have changed a little bit. But I think that data is going to be released on Wednesday, so that will come to you. And Kim Albright, our data guru, has been great because I've asked her to find me true cohort data. So we will be sharing with you on that day our current fourth graders. How many of them have been with us since kindergarten? And it's a good number. And so we're pulling out kids who came to us after kindergarten, but they've been with us for K 1, 2, 3, and how were they meeting or exceeding standard in ELA on CASP. So that's some exciting data that we're going to bring to you in December. There's a lot of crunching and pivot tabling that is happening.
I love the apples to apples.
Yeah, I know. It's so much cleaner, and I've gotten a little preview, and it's nice data, and it's good to see. So that's next steps around dibbles and reading and what have you. And Greg, I know, is rolling his eyes if he's listening to you. Oh, she's doing a horrible job. Next, I want to talk about the Student Experience 21, the TSE survey. Gotta look at my notes. We started this survey last spring for our 4th through 8th grade students. Moving forward this year, it was kind of a wonky administration last year, so we changed a few things, but starting this year, we're going to give this to all 3rd through 8th graders 3 times a year. So they just completed the first round. They'll do a winter and they'll do a spring. And it's a series of questions to measure their own student perceptions around their hope, their engagement, their belonging, and their 21st century or future readiness. And so we're going to share a little bit about that tonight. It's really an interesting survey, this idea of hope, engagement, belonging. It goes so nicely with the wheel, and it comes from the Patel for Kids people who used to be called Ed Leader 21, the people who've really fostered this idea that you need a portrait of a graduate, that there are more than academics that we should be measuring. So this is our attempt at measuring things beyond the academics that we measure regularly. So the idea of hope. This survey is also interesting. So every teacher is giving this to their class, and our junior high teachers selected one period to give it so they would get direct feedback. And teachers have access to their data, principals have access to their school level data, and we have access to the 9 school level data. And with this survey, kids are given a 5 range Likert scale. What I love the intention of this. The Patel for Kids folks are looking for a level 5. Like when we're talking about how hopeful you are as a 10-year-old, we want kids to unequivocally score, like put down, I'm at a 5, like I am so hopeful, but we also get a mean score. So it's just kind of an interesting survey thing. Usually surveys focus on means. This one focuses on means and how many hit the level 5. It's just an interesting survey tidbit. Yes, Brian, I can hear.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I can't picture what the survey questions, like, is it how hopeful you are on level 1 to 5? Or is
So here's the highest rated question within this survey was, this teacher cares about my future. And 52% of our kids scored a level 5. But overall in hope, so each one has about 8 questions, I think 7 or 8 questions. So they're very specific questions around, those different areas. And I'm happy to print out, I can share with you in my Friday update what the actual questions are. And I actually created a teacher survey that models the student survey, which is also interesting. So the mean for Hope was 4.03, which is very strong. It's really terrific. We hope that more than 38% of our kids would land in that level 5. That the mean would be higher. Vladimir's looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy. So engagement is the next one, and this is all about students being enthusiastic about their learning, engaged in their learning. And there's a variety. It's engaged when they have strong relationships with their teacher and peer, that they're in a safe environment, they're enthusiastic, they're confident about their learning. And the number one question, or the highest rated question, is, I have a good friend in this class. And 71% of our students scored that a 5. It's extraordinary. It's terrific. Which also, by the way, almost identically mirrors our teacher data. That's our strongest question, that I have a colleague or a friend in this district. It's really great. It's very interesting to me. We get to belonging, that students feel a sense of belonging when they believe their teacher and their peers accept them, value them, and care for them as individuals. So you can see, let's see, this teacher believes I can learn. That had 68% of our students gave it a 5 on that one question. And the mean response of that was 4.56. So overall, our belonging is very strong. But again, we want to push kids down to that 5 response. And then lastly, 21st century learning. Students experience 21st century learning when teachers design opportunities for students to think deeply, bring their learning to life through questioning, exploring, and reflecting on how their learning connects to the world beyond school. 41% of students strongly agreed that they ask questions to explore their ideas. That's one of them. And then 43% strongly agreed that their teacher expects them to reflect on what they're learning. So as we've looked at this data as a leadership team, and I know that principals are looking at this data with their teachers, at the school-wide data, it's really helping us as we're talking about the wheel and in creating environments of safety and belonging and developing positive relationships with students. It just gives us a little bit of a touch point to see over time, can we move the needle on these things, right? That aren't our academic measures, but more of our future ready measures and our, how am I feeling about myself as a learner and within a learning community measure. So that's our new survey for you. I'm sure at the end of the year, we'll come back with a kind of the year-long update. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if Greg is online and he can answer the questions.
Anyone with public comment? No? Any questions or comments for the board?
I think you said you were doing this 3 times a year.
Yep.
I have some slight concerns around validity, given that we live in a world where I'm asked to rate people on 1 to 5 stars
All the time.
a dozen times a day.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that if we do this too often, kids are gonna, especially the junior high kids,
Sure.
are gonna bucket this into, I understand that, like, unless I'm really pissed off, 5 stars is the polite thing to do.
Right.
And then we'll miss things, so I don't know how we fix that problem, and I would really appreciate seeing the questions. And
Yeah, I will share
more
the
of the,
questions with you.
if there's any research from the company,
Yeah.
that might also help, but
Yeah.
that's the only, I mean, I think it's great that we're trying to measure this.
Yeah.
And use that data to do something. I'm just very wary of the setup around getting sort of all over. The mindset of like, let's push every, especially given the public comment we just heard.
Sure.
That mindset of every kid should be a 5 rings alarm bells.
Not that every kid should be a 5, but we should be creating the environment where every kid can click the 5, right?
I get that, but
Yes.
we're not all powerful.
Sure, of course.
But there's always hope. There's always hope.
Engagement and belonging, yes.
Go back to your very first slide, I think, see if that's the right one. back.
Or all the way back?
Yeah, no, second
The
one.
first
Okay.
one.
So it's clear to me that I want to be in first grade at the end of the year.
Right?
Because there's almost no.
Yeah, the N is incredible. It really is.
By the way, these are all great. If it's available, error bars would be, or error whatever's would be interesting.
I don't know that Dibbles does that. I'll look, like a plus or minus.
Remember, I was excited about Dibbles? Back when you first introduced it, and I think one of the reasons was because it gave you a little bit more statistical data than you normally get.
Yeah.
But on the face of it, great stuff.
Yeah.
Any other board
Oh.
comment?
Yeah, sorry. One of the things that concerns me is you made a comment along those lines. You said, so we took out the kids that we had not been with us over.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's totally reasonable, but what about those kids?
Oh, absolutely. We still look holistically at the data and student by student at the data, but we've talked for so long about just understanding if a student is with us, is the impact better or worse than the all student, right? I think that's kind of been an ongoing, how do we compare apples to apples? So we're looking for certain at all kids, but I think it's nice to also
Oh, yeah.
see.
We ought to look at those kids. I can imagine a sixth grade teacher who suddenly gets a child who doesn't speak English.
Sure.
It's gonna be a disaster for a while, so it sort of like starts to evolve. But those are the kids, those are kids we really should be paying attention to.
And we
Okay.
are, and we are one here. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, any other board comments or questions? All right, thank you for that. Moving on to sharing parcel tax proceeds with Village Charter School. Eric.
Good evening tonight. So tonight is an annual item. These are the unaudited actual for Village Charter School, and as part of the 2016 parcel tax sharing agreement, Exhibit B is that VCS shall annually provide a written report for all of its expenditures of the parcel tax proceeds. Attached tonight as part of that, as an annual requirement, the board's an action item. The board has to make a determination whether VCS has expended its share of tax proceeds as required by the NGG.
All right, any public comment? No, any board comment?
I'm continually amazed at the incredibly small amount of information that we get.
Yes.
And I'm sort of inclined to say that we shouldn't share anything with them, but that's not the agreement we have, so.
It's not the agreement we have, and it is how it was written in the last parcel tax and written in the newer one going forward.
I know.
All right. Any other board comment or question? All right, and we have to approve this, right?
Yes.
Do I get a motion to approve the, is this the update or the sharing of parcel tax proceeds with Village Charter School?
I move that we determine that BCS has fulfilled the minimum possible thing required by our agreement. I'll second that.
All in favor?
No.
All right, that's enough. Thank you. All in favor?
No,
Steve,
there's no,
Yes.
there's no motion.
I moved
there
it.
was a movement,
Oh, yeah.
motion and a second.
Oh, I didn't hear. Sorry. Yeah.
Ryan,
Yes.
Vladimir,
Yes.
Shelley,
Yes.
read it more as the and they're not going to. So then in the agreement, give them a chance to dance. So putting that outside post date for a reason.
You could just suddenly went out and really nothing. If we go back to insurance, speaking very heavily at the Did you hear anything there, Shelley?
It sounds like you're underwater and far away. But and sometimes it just goes out. It just started like a minute ago.
That happened to us prior too, right? Here.
Can you say something, Jessica?
Yes, how are you doing, Shelley?
Okay, I turned my volume all the way up. And if you could just ask everyone to speak a little louder. Thank you.
I'm speaking loudly. Speak loudly at the owl, people.
Thank you.
All right, continue. Sorry.
I just want us all to be sort of on the same page that this, like, it sounds like what happened was we got to the point where Miramar, whoever it is, owed us $4.8 million and said, we're not prepared to give you $4.8 million right now. And we're willing to lose their project over that. So I see this, it's less of an extension and more of a, well, some percent of a chance at $4.8 million in some period of time. I'm not also sure why 2 years is the right number. Is better than a guarantee of no money if they just sort of walk away from their project now. But I would like us to be cognizant that this is a deterioration of our expected returns from the TDR program. I'm open to correction if that's not wrong, and also sort of what led to it being 2 years as opposed to some other period of time.
Sure, and I think working with Peter Ingram and with Shahida, the legal counsel on it, the current market conditions with the interest rates the way they are, there's really not a big demand for TDRs for developers because of the surplus commercial property out in the city of Mountain View right now. So it's in our best interest to most likely try to extend for another additional 2 years. If the developer, Miramar, does pull a permit, then they'll be obligated to distribute would receive $4.8 million for the TDR agreement. But all the TDRs are at risk, and all the agreements are very similar. If the market conditions change, which we hope they will, we would hope that we get some more demand for other TDRs to come through as well. But right now, there's no line of people. So it was in our best interest to really extend the current agreement under the same conditions, the same dollar value that was negotiated over 2 years ago, which was a pretty good value we felt for the district.
All right, any other comments? Shelley, Vladimir, Steve?
I get your concern, but I don't think there's an alternative at the moment in the market.
I don't disagree.
So I think, the idea of extending this for now makes sense. It's better than having them walk away totally, which would be the other option.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I think if we had a backup plan, like somebody else that was really fighting for the property, then I think that would be a good way to go. But we're not in a good position financially to do that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the comment and thank you for that color
When does the current agreement expire?
Well, it expires next month in November, November 5th, I believe, and so this would be extending it for 2 more years till November of 25. Okay.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the First Amendment to transferable development rights purchase and sale agreement 400 Logue?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Steve,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Vladimir,
Yeah,
Shelley?
Yes.
Yes, that passes 5-0. Going on to the Facilities Master Plan Services Contract. Eric?
Sure. Last May, the board, we held a special study session to look at the facility needs across the district, which are many, and a lot of things have changed since the last facility plan was done in 2014. It was updated briefly in 2019, but since 2019, we've had COVID, and the district really did the right thing, was really look at making sure teaching and learning was happening in the classrooms, provide a lot of online instruction. And so that was really the goal of the district. And then, but since COVID, there's been a tremendous amount of escalation of construction costs in the Bay Area, really nationwide shortages and supply chain issues. Inflation has reared its ugly head in our community, raising interest rates. And then with the districts also, just many districts across the state have experienced these unfunded mandates, universal meals, ELOC, and programs are just not fully funded. And so it's time for us to really look at our facility needs across the district. So the board gave staff direction to go into seek a new plan. We did a request for proposals and qualifications in July. Interviews were held in October. We had a panel of district staff, Andrew McGonigal, myself, Kerry Bosco. We had Brandon Can, who's on our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Steve Talia was on it, and we also had Wade Spinator. We actually briefed to the principals at the principal meeting last week. Wade thought it was a great process to be involved with it, the sitting principal. We like having Wade on there because he has been an elementary principal and now a middle school principal, so he had a unique perspective that he sees things differently. Interviews were held, and really the committee felt it was a unanimous decision. CA Architects is local, they're in Palo Alto, so they're very close. They've done a lot of master planning for a lot of local school districts, Los Alamitos, Portola Valley, and so on, other schools up the peninsula. They are very good at understanding our community, and I think it's gonna be a really great process. We'll be having Kerry Bosco help with some of the meetings, coordinating with the principals and the stakeholders, and there's gonna be a lot of stakeholder input from the school sites and district staff, and really look at all of our facility needs across the district. The one thing that we also, and I failed to mention this, was transitional kindergarten is also something that we have to think about in our master planning. You know, when you do master plan, it does change. CSBA and most, groups really advise that school districts should really be updating their master plan at least once every 5 to 10 years. So it's almost time for us to really update it. So I think it's a good thing for us to do. So we're asking tonight for the board to approve a contract with CA Architects for master planning for the district.
Great. Any board clarifying questions?
Any questions, I have a comment.
Okay, we can move on to comment because I don't see any public comment.
Being part of the process, it was good to actually hear the 3 firms that came in. They've already been reviewed and tightened down. And I have to agree that COG, the reason I think the group thought they represented well was their approach was very reassuring. And the other thing I liked about it is we're getting another opinion or another viewpoint from an architectural group that isn't currently involved with district. Like that. So they actually gave us might give us a different perspective on how to approach things, which hopefully will give us more. So.
Charlie, did you get that?
No, she didn't get that either.
Any other board comment? Can I get a motion to approve the contract with CA Architects?
So moved.
Do I get a second?
Yes.
All in favor, Steve,
Yes.
Brian,
Yeah.
Vladimir,
Yes.
Shelley?
Yes.
Yes, passes 5-0. Moving on to, I believe this one is the notice of completion with USA Shade. Eric,
Yeah.
I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, this is a standard item after a construction project is completed. The district is required to file a notice of completion. We send that to the county recorder's office, records it, and that helps protect the district can stop notices for any subcontractors. And once the board approves this, we'll sign it, send it to the county recorder's office. So it's a notice of completion. The project is complete. If you've been out to Gardner Bullis, it looks beautiful. All the trees are in. It's a really great looking project. This is a PTA funded project as well. And then there's a little bit of parking lot remediation work we have to get done, and we'll be scheduling the bidding for that probably in the winter time when we can find time to get in there.
All right, thank you. Any board comments or questions? No? Can I get a motion to approve this notice of completion with USA Shade?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, Steve,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Vladimir,
Yes.
Shally,
Yes.
and I vote yes, passes 5-0. Moving on to board policy maintenance.
All right, tonight you have 4 new policies, not new policies, maintenance policies off cycle for a first read around our SARCs, school accountability report cards, pest management, professional standards for teachers, and inter-district attendance. If you have any questions over this, between this meeting and next meeting, Steve, I did receive your comment around one piece in the professional standards that we'll look into clarifying, but please let me know and we can make alternate, oh my gosh, my brain is really trying alternative wording, yes, thank you, when they come back.
All right, any comments on them now?
Yeah, the school accountability report card is probably the most useless document I have come across in. That's all I want to say.
It's just the fun of bureaucracy. Yeah, we are
It
required
was,
to
there
have
must
that
have
fun.
been some purpose at some time,
Yes, it
but
is.
that's, as far as,
Yep. All right, thank you very much on that. Moving on to board and administrative comments.
Sure. I think Sandra might talk about the PD day for
Yeah.
staff, but I was gonna just acknowledge the great classified staff. The maintenance staff and custodians worked really hard to get that PD ready. And so a ton of rooms that have to be set up and tables. So I want to acknowledge all the hardworking maintenance and certificated staff that really helped get the certificated staff PD set up. All the maintenance staff and custodians. And then while the certificated staff were learning, the classified staff were learning. They had a great training day actually at Loyola on Friday morning, where the custodial staff, they met for breakfast and they did some training on safety and all the required safety training. So it's really nice to see them all together in the morning. So they also do classified training as well and professional development. So it's nice to see that happening. So
great.
Just a couple things. We had an outstanding day of learning for teachers on Friday. I want to give a great shout out to Greg Drummond, the CNI team, Jen Kiker and our SPED team, and 2 of our principals, Kevin Armstrong and Denise Khaled, also led sessions. I think I told you before, everybody had a must-do session around the wheel and then a pick your own adventure session. And the feedback, we spent time this morning reading through the feedback. It was outstanding. So everybody's looking forward to following that thread from what they've learned, and we'll come back in January around the same topics, which is great. We have a LAF board meeting this Thursday night, so we'll be doing a mission moment. Our junior high elected teachers are coming in to talk about some of their programs, and then we meet with PTA presidents this Friday morning.
Yes. All right, board members, Vladimir?
nothing.
Brian?
I attended Senator Josh Becker's Java with Josh events last week, just as a constituent, just to hear what's going on. And it was a very eclectic group of Josh's constituents from all over his district, which stretches to Half Moon Bay and up in Woodside and lots of different places. It was actually, I'm not sure how many people were sort of our constituents as well, but a couple of things came up. And so I've reached out to his staff to schedule a meeting so that I can talk about some of those issues around differentiated learning versus gifted programs and a few budget stuff from sort of the perspective of what we're doing in our district.
Great. Steve. Shally.
Nothing.
All right, I had with Sandra, with Sandra, the Los Altos Town Crier meeting. We had LAMB PTA Council since the last meeting. We had Challenge Team where Sandra presented. Sandra and I presented at the Los Altos Community Coalition meeting to get them to really know LASD in general and let them know about the parcel tax, of course. I participated as an individual in Compassion Week with my daughter and also attended Los Altos Follies, which is really a cool kind of spoof musical put on by the Los Altos Theater Company. It was a lot of fun. So that is all I have, and meeting is adjourned. Hi, Shally.
Bye, thank you.